Welcome to Chandwell. My name's Michael, and in this video I'm going to show you how I used a sticky label, the plastic window from a kid's birthday cake box, some tweezers, a ruler and a scalpel to produce these stunning and delicate windows for Chandwell's station building. These frame elements are only 1/3 of a millimetre wide. I wasn't planning on making this video, but I found the technique so easy and exciting that I felt I just had to share it. I'd dimly heard of the sticky label technique for window frames before, but it was a few pictures I saw on Facebook by Tim Fairweather which made me take notice. He created some wonderful N-scale cottages with fine window frames that he claimed were easy to make. So with Tim's encouragement, I agreed to try the technique out. It's actually surprisingly easy. As with all my scratch builds, I started out in Inkscape. You don't need a computer for this, as the technique will work just as well with frames you've drawn yourself. I made the windows 1.5 millimeters shorter than the openings. This allows some of the white frame to show. I added the frame elements just using white lines. In this case, I was basing them on those at Chester Station, and I made them 0.3 millimeters wide. So I arranged these windows along the top of an A4 sheet, and then I print it onto an A4 sticky label. You don't need to fill the sheet, you just cut straight across the label, right through with a scalpel. You can then reuse what's left just by putting it through your printer again. And it's a great way of printing small elements without wasting most of a sheet of paper, or in this case a label, and I use this technique all the time. It's clear to see how tiny these are. Cut them out individually or in pairs and then stick them to some clear acetate. I'm using the old packaging of a children's birthday cake here, which I must have torn off and kept 5 years ago. Smooth them on and then simply cut along the lines with a sharp scalpel. Use light strokes because you don't want to go through the acetate. You can hear and feel when the knife is through the paper. Don't worry about the holes for the glass, just go in straight lines, crisscross the whole thing. The magic happens later. Once you've done the whole thing, just use the tip of your scalpel to gently tweeze out the holes. They peel away easily for the most part, but use tweezers to help if necessary. It's an incredibly satisfying feeling, peeling away these minuscule pieces of paper and leaving an even more minuscule piece of paper behind. You can see here just how thin these bits of frames are. They are somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 millimetre. I'm surprised that the blade even cuts like this. I took the technique a bit further and I tried to make curved frames too. I just used the scalpel freehand and I tried to cut around the curve of this frame. Without a magnifying lens, this was a bit hit and miss, and I had to try and get through the paper in one cut to avoid going over the curve again, and that I couldn't really see. With only 1/3 of a millimetre between each cut, this was a bit tricky. On this one, I had more of the black than the white, but mounting the window backwards soon sorted that problem out. This technique is dead easy if you've got decent eyesight or a good magnifying lens, and as long as you have steady hands. I was really surprised by how good the end result was. Thin and fine, and with a subtle 3D effect, they look much better than I ever thought they would. So a few tips that I learned after following Tim's advice and doing my own experimentation. Use really cheap labels. I bought 25 A4 labels for £3.75, and that included postage from eBay. I first tried this technique with expensive photo labels, and the adhesive was just too strong and I couldn't peel them off properly. Stick the windows to the acetate 1 or 2 at a time. The longer you leave the label stuck to the plastic, the more difficult it is to peel off again. I originally stuck about 8 or 9 to the paper and I left it overnight, and I struggled to peel it off. So once I started using 1 or 2 at a time, much better. Use very light strokes with the blade. With a new blade especially, it's easy to slice straight through the acetate in one go, especially if you're using the thin acetate that I was using here. won't be so much of a problem if you use something a little bit thicker. Stick the completed window to the building with normal PVA glue and just slide it into place. You'll have plenty of time before the glue sets. So thank you, Tim. If it wasn't for your encouragement, I would never have tried this. I'm really pleased with how these windows have worked out. My station's going to look fantastic, especially once I start the other side with all its curved windows down the front. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up by pressing the button below. It really encourages me to continue making Chandwell videos. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and I will answer them. My next video will show the completion of this part of the station. So until then, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.